I'm Trinity Anderson, producer and narrator of Plog Vlog. Today in Brisbane, on Bribie Island and on North Stradbroke Island in Australia, we're exploring what it means to live the dream. Let's head out under Brisbane's Story Bridge to hear about my foster father's version of living his dream.
Wandering the world picking up litter and promoting wellness, to me, is living the dream. I can't imagine a better life. But to some other people, maybe many people, my life would be a living hell. I'm uncomfortable most of the time and fairly often in pain from some injury or another, and sometimes I'm even in physical danger. I think that I'm going to dedicate this episode, maybe even this whole chapter, to the concept of what is living the dream. What does it mean to live the dream? It's the start of a new chapter, so I really should explain what Plog Vlog is. Plog Vlog is a wellness channel disguised as a plogging channel. What is plogging, you say? Plogging is walking, running, doing anything active outside and picking up litter at the same time. But over time, we've realised that probably people have a greater need than the environment when it comes to litter. So what we do is we pick up these things, we get the deposits for them, and we use that money to share wellness messages. Each chapter is 10 parts, and each episode addresses one psychological or philosophical issue to do with wellness. So I guess we should talk about the bike. Plog Vlog has been to Uganda a couple of times over the last 2 years. And while we were there, we were traveling around on these amazing things called boaters. Small little 125 motorcycles like this one that are the workhorse of Africa, Asia, India. They transport more people and produce than almost any other type of vehicle. So when we got back to Australia, I thought to myself, I need a boater. So this is now our workforce here in Australia. This is the vehicle that I use when I'm in Brisbane to find bottles and cans to help fund wellness messages. So let's have a look around Bribie Island to see if we can find any bottles and cans. I haven't seen a lot. Perfect.
My foster father is touching on the biological reality that our definition of the dream might be hardwired. Concepts like a sensation-seeking trait suggest a genetic predisposition where some people actually require high levels of novelty, risk, and physical friction to feel fulfilled, while others are neurologically built to seek safety and predictability. Let's look at an example from my mother's life where these different innate needs clashed. A few months ago, Plog Vlog visited Istanbul, and we were incredibly impressed by how beautifully clean the city was. But back in September 1993, my mother Liz and her childhood friend David experienced a much more chaotic period for the city. Arriving after a 6-hour bus ride, they were immediately plunged into a torrential downpour, the first real rain they'd seen since Austria, what seemed like an eternity ago. Navigating monstrous traffic, they eventually trudged several muddy kilometres to find a campsite near the airport. As the storm raged, Liz watched with sympathetic amusement as David wrestled with their sun-baked, brittle tent, accidentally tearing the nylon fly while trying to keep the freezing water out. The next morning, eager to escape the damp, they caught a bus into the city. Bypassing the expensive palaces, they sought refuge in the awe-inspiring mosques. Leaving her damp shoes at the door, Liz marvelled at the intricate floral tiles of the Blue Mosque and the massive pillars of the Suleymaniye. Later, they braved the Grand Bazaar. Liz viewed the labyrinthine catacomb of shops as a thrilling puzzle, deftly navigating the narrow corridors, while David quickly lost his patience with the relentless, aggressive salesmen and insisted they leave. Retreating to the relative quiet of their campsite that evening, the bizarre reality of Istanbul continued. As they sat recovering, a large bird suddenly plummeted from the branches above, landing dead on the ground right beside their patched-up tent. Liz watched in morbid fascination as the rest of the flock immediately descended, squawking loudly over their fallen comrade in a bizarre avian funeral rite before abruptly flying off. The Istanbul that Liz wrote about in her journals is a stark contrast to today's city. Looking back at Liz's writings, it's amazing to see how much a place can change, evolving from that chaotic, smoggy memory into the pristine, litter-free Istanbul we experienced on our own plogging trip just a few months ago.
Back in the centre of Brisbane and on Bribie Island, I asked the question, what does it mean to be living the dream? Because I honestly think that I'm living the dream. Now it's a couple of days later and I'm on North Stradbroke Island and I've done my due diligence. I have done the research. I've created a research brief and put it into Notebook LM, created a podcast out of that. Listen to that podcast because I learn from listening, not by reading. And I've become worried because I think that the algorithm might be pandering to my confirmation bias because it keeps coming up with the same theories and the same outcomes that confirm the way I live. Now, it could be that the way I live is actually ideal for me. Therefore, it is confirming what is ideal for me. But it could also be that the algorithm is, like as I said, pandering to my belief or my wish that my life is living the dream. Let me go into some of the things that is presented to me. While riding down to Amity Point, it occurred to me that I might do something a little bit different. Instead of going through the theory and research first, morning, how you doing? What I'd do is go straight to the recommendations that come from that theory and research. And those recommendations are based on cognitive behavioral theory. So what they recommend is that in the search for living the dream, instead of going for a specific goal that has an endpoint, what you do is you search for an horizon. Think of it like an horizon, where the closer you get to the horizon just moves away from you. So it's a bit like what we do here at Plog, in that we promote picking up litter and we promote wellness. Now that is a never-ending process. We will never get to the point where we go, well, we've done now, we've picked up all the litter in the world and everyone in the world as well. That will never happen. The horizon keeps moving away. There will always be more litter. There will always be other people. So in your search for living the dream, perhaps you can look for something to include in your life that you feel is meaningful and purposeful, that you can strive towards, that is good for you, but also just keeps moving away. You never actually reach an end point. You never end up on that podium thinking to yourself with your first place medallion on, standing there, thinking to yourself, I've made it now. And then the following day you go, well, it's done. Something to take into account when you're thinking about what it means to be living the dream is a thing called default cultural scripts. Now what they are, if my bike doesn't sink into the sand, and it is going to, so I'll have to hold it up. So default cultural scripts are those things that our culture tells us have value. So for example, in Australia, a default cultural script is that you will grow up, you'll get a good job, you'll buy a house with a white picket fence, you'll get married, you'll have kids, so probably the other way around, and then you'll earn enough money to be able to retire, then you'll sit back and you'll relax and enjoy the rest of your life. Now, I'm at the end of that in my life, and the default cultural script probably doesn't mean riding around on a motorbike on a sand island picking up litter. For me, though, that is living the dream. So I've set aside the default cultural script to find something that better suits myself. Hope I don't fall down in there. Can I get this around? I have to get off, I think. Oh, there's a bottle down there. I didn't see that one. I saw the one up there. So this one probably doesn't match most people's idea of living the dream. Yep. Take that. There's another one up here. Where was it? There it is. That sounds like a motorbike. What is it? Oh, a bigger one than me. I said that about all men. Got a bigger one than me. Now this is why I'm probably not finding many cans. Someone else is doing this. Look, they're doing containers for fun. Good on them. Not going to steal their stuff. Let's go find the brown rack. So the way that cognitive behavioral theory says to address this whole cultural impact thing is to go through a process of values clarification. So you strip away systematically the values of the culture and you set them aside, and then you look at your own values and needs and make a decision then on what is important to you and what to you looks like a life well lived. So I guess what it comes down to is whether you spend your weekends and holidays riding around on a sand island picking up cans or laying back and sinking a few tinnies, is living the dream something that you have created for yourself? Is it your dream, or is it a borrowed dream that comes from the expectations of society, or perhaps from what other people do on the internet? In previous episodes, I've pretty much followed the Notebook LM podcast that has been created from the briefing and research and data. But this episode, like I said at the start, I think that my biases have been reflected in that. So I've taken a lot of liberties this time. If you want to see the actual research itself, we've created another YouTube channel called Study Notes. And the original Notebook LM file there, the podcast, has been placed on that with some of the B-roll footage, the extra B-roll footage that I take in these episodes. So feel free to pop over there. The link to that is in the description. And you'll be able to see the actual research and the actual data being debated by AI podcasters. I don't know whether you trust AI podcasters. I think there's some bias there, but I'm going to try and drill out that bias, drag it out, and identify and acknowledge my own biases, even when it comes out in research that is being presented on a supposedly unbiased podcast.
My foster father is describing values clarification, a psychological process of defining what a meaningful life is to you rather than adopting borrowed dreams from society. The arrival fallacy is the trap of thinking a static goal brings lasting happiness. Instead, well-being requires continuous, value-aligned action. In this episode, we've explored how living the dream well isn't about a final destination, but instead is a continuous horizon of value-aligned actions. It's about shedding default cultural scripts and engaging in activities that bring you genuine purpose, even if they involve a bit of challenge and frustration. Here is a tiny action you can try today to put this into practice. Take 10 minutes to write down 3 things that society tells you that should make you happy, and then write down 3 things that actually make you feel deeply fulfilled, even if they require effort. If you want to hear the full AI-generated research podcast, the one that my foster father used to prepare for this episode, head over to our companion YouTube channel called Plog Study Notes. The link is in the description. On screen now, you can see the next episode is hovering on the left, and our compilations are waiting for you on the right. And please, pick up 5.